Hello, everyone. Nadeem here with PC.Solutions.Net. It's after 5. The day kind of got away from me, but I wanted to make this video and get this out to everybody. The question that's been rising to the top this week is, does our secret sauce, our TAM and VCIO process actually reduce costs? That's important for several customers in different categories. For the larger customers where they have their own IT departments, they want to implement something similar to reduce their costs. And then for everybody else, it's almost like, hey, does your process actually work? How do we know it actually works? So first of all, what the process is, there's 5 pillars to any IT services provider, right? So there's project services, centralized services, TAM, which is a technology alignment manager, VCIO, which the name is self-descriptive, but and then the final one is support. And let me just share my screen here and show you what these different roles are. So here we have project services, centralized services. So project services is any project. Customer says, hey, I want to install 5 new servers, or I want to migrate Exchange to Office 365. Those are project services, right? That is really not a cost from our perspective because we invoice the customer, bill the customer for that service. Centralized service is baked into our support plan. The fixed cost outsourcing centralized services is baked into that. This is the team that does a lot of the heavy lifting of automation. This is where all the automation comes in. So for example, a server is running low on resources. Centralized services has the scripts and the automation set up already. When a certain server, if it is let's say a Windows 2019 server, if the C drive runs below a certain threshold, then do this. So they have all these automations, and there's like over 200 different automations that we have on there for servers, workstations, switches, routers, whatever have you. So that is baked in. The next one is the TAM, the Technology Alignment Manager. That's this guy right here. So the Technology Alignment Manager is an on-site visit where the alignment manager, the engineer, comes on site and they go through a checklist. We have a checklist, and we have like 5 different sections in our checklist, and then each section has multiple categories, and then each category has items in it. And we kind of rotate them, right? So throughout the year. So normally for a typical customer of ours, we do this once a month, on once a month basis. We do the TAM visit. It takes about 8 hours a day, and the TAM is basically collecting all this information. Once that information is collected, that goes over to the VCIO. The VCIO's job is then to take that information, translate it into business terms, and show the customer the impact of some of the findings on the business. So, for example, it could be something as simple as, routers that are more than 5 years old. They're not supported. They're not in warranty. Hey, Mr. Customer, it might be a good idea to replace these because if these fail, they're not supported anymore. We can't get a replacement quick enough to put the new replacement in place. So if it does die, that means a downtime of several days, or having to do some kind of a workaround to get you going, which the workaround always means that your environment during the workaround is not going to be as secure. And those are some of the things that the customer has to agree to ahead of time, whether they want to replace that router or not. And if they don't, then what are the repercussions for that in business terms? Is it going to reduce business? Is it going to increase the risk of having a breach? And if there is a breach, what does that mean for the business in the bottom line? So these 2 functions work together. Now, how do we know that these two things actually work together? So the first thing is, out of this joint venture between TAM and VCIO, we generate project services, right? So, in the case of that router needs to be replaced because it's getting outdated. And this is how large enterprise IT departments run, right? If something is end of life, they will schedule it ahead of time to replace it before it actually dies, because replacing something that is still working is a much lower cost than replacing it once it's dead and you cannot get to it, right? Same thing goes with workstations, a workstation cycle and all of that. But just to keep things simple, so out of this collaboration between the TAM and the VCIO, the project services comes out, which in this case is the router. Now, that router being replaced is going to reduce costs, and I'm simplifying things, is going to reduce costs because that router that was going to fail if it wasn't replaced, causing a few days of downtime and customers, the users at the customer side creating tickets for, hey, I can't get to the internet, I can't connect remotely. What happened? Well, the router at the office is dead. We can't do anything just yet. We're waiting on replacement parts. So those kind of support tickets will go down. And so what that does is that reduces the support right here. So that will bring down that support cost. And we actually see that in our metrics where after about 3 months of alignment process, the number of tickets start going down in quantity and severity because we are standardizing things. And the router was a good example. Another example is switches, network switches. A lot of times IT departments don't even think about network switches that are not supported. And we find a lot of times that switches are not supported, they're end of life, nobody even thought about replacing. And then one day a switch dies, or even if one port dies, that's a trouble ticket coming in saying, hey, I can't access anything on the network today. Why? Because that one port on the switch that was end of life died. So it's a good idea to replace these switches ahead of time, make sure they're on warranty. And we've seen it. I mean, we gather all these metrics because if the reason why we gather these metrics is because this has a direct impact on our business as an MSP. Because if this process did not reduce costs, then why even do this process, right? Our goal, since any additional cost is money out of our pocket, it's less profitability for us. So of course, it's in our best interest to reduce the cost as much as possible. And this is where we build that secret sauce on reducing the cost. We run it like an enterprise IT department for every customer. That's what we bring to the table. That's what every IT services provider out there needs to bring to the table, is a strategic way to reduce costs. And that's what it is. Now, keep in mind, a lot of times customers are looking at, when they're trying to decide on an MSP or IT services provider, they're looking at things like, well, how many trouble tickets do you handle in a day? That's the wrong metric. If an IT services provider is handling 1,000 tickets a day, my question wouldn't be, wow, you're handling 1,000 tickets a day, very good. My question would be, why are you getting 1,000 tickets in a day? There's something wrong with that picture. And MSPs have, they're not official, but we have our own groups where we actually share data across the US, multiple, across the world, actually. So we share data on how these statistics are. The support tickets, the average support tickets per day per tech, the industry average right now is about 20 point something, right? It's like 20.3. So let's say round it up down to 20. So average ticket per tech per day is 20. Here at PCSN, our average ticket per day is 4. That is astounding. And we strive to keep that ticket count down using this process, because that's what makes us profitable. And us being profitable is good for the customer. If we are not profitable, we won't be in business very long. So, and this secret sauce right here is what makes everything going and everything humming along. So hopefully that answers the question for whether we, how do we know? We know it because we pick a lot of different metrics. Just like we, being analytical just, in IT, we gather so much data and we play with numbers all the time. We're trying to figure out things, and some of the numbers that we gather, like so we do a huddle, and today in the huddle, I was telling the team, an interesting metric, so we measure our average response time, right, and which is like I think 17 minutes last time I checked. So I threw in another metric, and I kind of threw the engineers off, and I was like, hey, so our for this month, our average resolution time rose a little bit, and they were like, wait a minute, how did it look? And it couldn't have risen. They were thinking the response time, and I was like, wait a minute, no, this is not response time I'm talking about. I'm talking about resolution time. So think about it. I mean, we are tracking resolution time average across the business, across all customers. And we need to make sure that is within our thresholds, within the industry standards. And it is well within the industry standards. It rose a little bit, but it's still, I think it was like 4.3, still well within limits. 4.3, it's 4.3 hours, not minutes. So 17-minute response time, 4.3 hours average resolution time. And a lot of times the resolution time goes up because if we are waiting for a customer to give us the second factor authentication credential, or to, if we're waiting for somebody to log in, that kind of extends our time. But overall, in the big scheme of things, it flushes out. The industry average is much higher when it comes to resolution time. It's like, but normally, businesses are around 7.5 hours, between 6 and 8. That's where it usually ranges. So it's still excellent. But the bottom line is we gather all these statistics so we can make good business decisions, just like any other business. We run it like a factory. It's input and then output. So it's input, we do our thing, and then there's output. We run it just like that. So with that, we'll close it. It's everybody's going to get this email late, but it is what it is. Hopefully you enjoyed this and you got a little insight into how the IT industry works, and what kind of metrics we gather, and why specifically PCSN has used this method to reduce costs and fine-tune this process over the last 20-25 years. We've got it honed down pretty well. So with that, everybody, have a great day, and be safe out there.